If you were to ask me what is the most underrated dinosaur in fiction, I could not think of a better example than Dinocroc. A simple antagonist that works well for a simple little film from, well, the titular character, Dinocroc. And today, we're gonna be seeing how powerful is he. So, we're gonna be taking a look into both Dinocroc and Dinocroc vs Supergator, which might or may not be canon. So, without further ado, let's get into it. In terms of size, the original Dinocroc was roughly 40 feet, as at one point in the movie they even say this. So, by using the square cube law, the Dinocroc of this movie would be about 4 metric tons or 4,000 kilograms. With this weight alone, we can already get Dinocroc into the wall level ranges. However, we can get this much higher with its kinetic energy. On land it is rather sluggish, in the water he's an absolute beast, able to keep up with a boat going about 70 miles per hour. While he doesn't have the exact same speed of the boat, he actually was able to keep up to an extent. So let's slowball this to 55 miles per hour. The kinetic energy would be about 1,200 kilojoules. This is actually really consistent since he's actually really good at taking people off guard in the water without even being seen in the first place. And in terms of feats, that's about it, unfortunately. For more feats, we actually need to go into Dinocroc vs Supergator. Right out of the bat, we already know that it's much stronger than its original counterpart, not only due to it having better feats, but due to being likely a fully grown one, given that the whole plot of the movie is about these dinosaurs growing insanely fast. But now, in terms of actual size, since this one's supposedly a fully grown individual, it would already have the mass of about 8,000 kilograms or 8 metric tons. Assuming it would be capable of replicating the same feat it did when it was much smaller, he would actually be able to generate 2,400 kilojoules worth of energy. This is actually really consistent, as not only he's able to withstand a C4 to the face while only getting a mild burn. All of this is consistent given that Dinocroc can compare to Supergator, which was able to destroy a van, which would generate over 7,000 kilojoules worth of energy. Dinocroc is quite easily superior to Supergator, as in the climax of the movie, he emerged ultimately victorious. Another thing to notice is that it seems to be superior not only in strength but also in speed. Dinocroc would not only manage to land more hits, but his hits seems to be actually dealing more damage, as constantly throughout the fight, it's very clear that Supergator is getting hard pressed and being easily overpowered despite its actual feats. So in terms of overall power, it is safe to say that Dinocroc is the superior of the two. So in terms of multiplier, we can use a 1.5 times difference, which would put Dinocroc at 10,500 kilojoules. In the end, Dinocroc would find itself within the wall level ranges, which is actually quite high, considering he's just supposed to be a normal dinosaur. Okay, he's a big brute with a lot of strength, but is he fast or is he a slug? Well, as already mentioned, Dinocroc is able to keep up with boats that can travel 70 miles per hour, which would place his speed in the superhuman tiers. We know this is consistent as he was able to keep up with a Jeep Wrangler going about the same speed, only 60 miles per hour actually. But this is a still consistent feat, and since he was able to speed blitz actual soldiers, that would actually mean that his actual speed, at a bare minimum, it's beat human, as you know, soldiers are trained to have fast reaction and all of that. So this is consistent since also Supergator is able to keep up and actually chase vehicles going about roughly the same speed. In terms of abilities, he really doesn't have anything special. He's really good underwater, which would grant him amphibious, but that really seems to be it. He doesn't really seem to get stronger in the water or anything like that. And other abilities would include maybe regeneration and accelerated growth. In terms of intelligence, he really doesn't have anything out of the ordinary. He can set up an ambush, as at one point in the movie he pretended to go away in order to fool the characters into a false sense of security, only to ambush them. He also really seems to be really accustomed to water, as he's constantly in the water for most of the film, which, well, at least he knows his strength, I suppose. And that about does it for the video. Actually, no. So, what about a hypothetical? Could Sue, the T-Rex, defeat? No. Almost every single category goes into Dinocroc's favor, in terms of speed, durability, strength, intelligence, battle IQ, all of that. The only one that you might argue that Rex has, maybe experience, but that's if you use the ones in the movie, which, I mean, it's fair, but if we use like an average in-universe Dinocroc from the prehistoric times, it'll likely easily be much more experienced, given that these guys clearly are solitary animals who clearly don't like the presence of each other, and they love to pick up a fight with really anything. That's my tangent for all the Sue fans in the audience. Anyway, in terms of attack potency, he would find himself quite deep into the wall level ranges, which is actually quite impressive, as it would actually mean that he would basically be able to solo any real life creature. As for speed, he is actually quite impressive and has demonstrated the capacity to be at the barest of bare minimums, peak human, to as high as superhuman. Quite impressive, but not as impressive as one might think. Anyways, this is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe, and unfortunately next week's video isn't going to come out. I have my sights on a much more time consuming project, which I truly hope you guys understand. And now, see you later, alligators.